Hello and welcome to another episode of A Day in the District. I'm your host, Chelsea Whittington. A Day in the District was specifically created for those of you who are interested in all of the wonderful things happening in your Gary Community School Corporation. Today, I am joined by a reluctant guest, but by the end of this segment, I'm sure he will be so excited to be on the stage of A Day in the District. He is my friend and our Director of Facilities, none other than Mr. Barry O'Quinn. Hey, Barry.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I tease you when we say reluctant because I know at any given moment, you could be in any of our schools taking care of some type of project, but you have given me 30 minutes for us to chat it up about all things facilities. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So I want to start, Barry, so that our audience can get familiar with who you are. Who is Barry O'Quinn? Where do you come from, your education, and how you got to the district?
Well, my name is Barry O'Quinn. I was born and raised in Gary. I'm one of seven. We all went through the Gary school system. I went to Franklin, Riley, Bailey, and Wallace.
Okay.
And then I chauffeured a wealthy woman for 2 years. And then I went into the Marine Corps for 5 years. And then I got out and had a good time till I was about 32 years old. Prior to that, I was an arborist.
Okay. And that's with trees?
With trees, cutting trees down. I started that when I was about 14 because my brother-in-law had a tree service.
Okay.
So I always did that. I still do it. So I was looking for a home, and a job position came up at the University of Chicago, and I thought, man, there's probably 1,000 people. I'm never going to get hired for this job. And lo and behold, they hired me.
University of Chicago, in facilities?
Yep, in facilities. I started out in grounds.
Okay.
Cutting grass. And so when I got there, I'm fond of saying everybody has a knack in life that gets you through things. Mm-hmm. My knack for me is I could see it, you could show it to me, I could either figure it out or do it. So the first thing I said to myself was, it was the best job I'd ever had in my life. Benefits, I'd never had retirement part of that, health insurance. Mm-hmm. And I just looked around and I went, boy, there's no way I'm staying in grounds. And I started my process, how do I get that job? My job out of grounds, I wanted to be in the sheet metal shop. Mm-hmm. And here's where my knack came in, where I can figure it out. Well, when you went to the sheet metal shop, they gave you a test. He gave me a sheet of metal and he said, make a drip pan, and he gave me the drawings. I'd never been in a sheet metal shop, but I could look, that cuts it, that bends it, and I could solder. I made the drip pan.
Figured it out.
He hired me.
Nice.
So when I got in there was all this lead cane for windows. And I said, how come nobody uses a lead cane? He goes, nobody wants to do it. I reinstituted lead cane window making back to the U of C. Mm-hmm.
And what specifically does that involve?
If you look at like English Gothic buildings at the University of Chicago,
yes,
and you see the windows and they look like they have 26 panes of glass,
yes,
what you're looking at there is a lead H cane.
Ah.
And the glass is inside the H cane. You solder the joints and then you putty the...
I don't know the technical terms, but I know exactly what you're talking about because there are so many beautiful facilities on the University of Chicago's campus. So you have your fingerprint on that beautiful space.
Oh, I have my claim to fame at the so I went from there, and then I became the lead man. Mm-hmm. I became the lead man in the sheet metal shop, and then my boss was going to leave. And Marcia East, one of the you meet these people in your life, mm-hmm. and she was one of those people. She came in as an interim director, and we were talking one day, and she looks at me and she goes, you want Harold's job, right? And I go, yeah. And she goes, you need a degree to have that job. And I went, ah. And she goes, so guess what? She goes, I have what you want. And she goes, and you have what I want. And she goes, guess which one's the easiest to get? And I go, I don't know. She goes, I wish I had all the knowledge you have of facilities. She goes, but that'll take me a long time. So she made me a deal. She goes, we'll hire you in that position if you agree to go back and get a degree. So at the age of 42, I went and applied to Purdue, started school, and at the age of 52, I graduated with a bachelor's degree.
Bravo. That's, to me, an inspirational story for those who are watching. Of course, we focus in on our K through 12, but again, there are parents and community members who watch and say, is it too late? And you are proof.
And I tell people that all the time. I'm very fond of saying, listen to me, you may think you know where you're going to be or what's going to happen 5 to 10 years. You have no idea. Because you know what? If that special person comes into your life, your life could be changed. She changed my life.
That is awesome.
I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, I am so excited that you have had that great pathway, because it has been said time and time again that the experience you bring from the University of Chicago makes the Gary Schools footprint look like just a little, it's just a little slice of the pie when you think about the square footage of the responsibility that you covered. Talk a little bit more about that, and then we're going to shift in the next segment to our Gary Schools.
So at the university, I was a senior manager of building envelope and trade shops. Ooh. So I had all the trade shops, and I did about $10 to $20 million in projects. My claim to fame, so I'm very proud of this.
Okay.
So when they hired me in, one of the questions was, and I did my homework, when they hired me to the supervisor's position, they said, well, what's your biggest goal? I said, my biggest goal before I leave here, I would like to have replaced all the clay tile roof on this campus, and I'd like to fix the facades on all the English Gothic buildings on campus. Because when I got there, they hadn't changed a clay tile roof in 100 years.
Oh, wow.
And they were at their life cycle in. When I left, we spent $150 million in 15 years, replaced all the clay tile roofs, and we were 90% done doing all the repairs on the facades. So they're set for another 100 years.
Nice.
That's, for me, that is my
That's your claim to fame. Well, Barry, I will say that you probably have quite a few claims to fame thus far in your short tenure here at the Gary Community School Corporation, and we're going to dive in a little deeper. What is your full title? Because I want to make sure, is it Director of Facilities? Because
it's Director of Building Grounds and Maintenance.
Building Grounds and Maintenance, BGM. So we are chatting with Barry Quinn, and I say Quinn, like, oh my God, we were so glad to have you come to the team. And we're going to talk in our next segment on all things facilities. So many questions float around in our community about, well, what about the boiler? What about the roof? What about the parking lot? What about the bathrooms and all these things? And so after I've gotten all this feedback from the community, I said, I know the solution. I am going to get our Director of Building Grounds and Maintenance on this stage to pose all of these questions. And so I have a whole litany of questions for you when we go into the next segment. But for now, I want to remind all of you that you are watching A Day in the District. I am your host, Chelsea Whittington. And for all information regarding the Gary Community School Corporation, we invite you to follow our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and be sure to visit our website, garyschools.org. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Don't tell anybody, but I'm a bookworm. I'm one of those very ambitious, highly motivated, overachievers you've heard about. When I enrolled in Gary Community Schools, I thought I'd be all alone. Sort of like an anomaly or a unicorn. Turns out, that wasn't true at all. There's lots of us here.
Gary Schools. Strong. Resilient, built for education.
Welcome back to A Day in the District. I'm your host, Chelsea Whittington, and I'm chatting with my colleague, Burial Quinn, who's the Director of Building Grounds and Maintenance. What a massive role you hold with the district. You gave us in the first segment your history. So you spent your entire career at the University of Chicago, and we love to use a friendly word called stoles, robbed, poached, however we want to put it. We recruited, that's a better word. Mm-hmm. We recruited you over to the district and had full confidence that you could survey the lay of the land of our buildings and then enact a plan to help us with improvement. And I think your timing was so apropos with some funding being able to come in and support us from referendum, ESSER dollars. But when you first landed on the scene, and you're a Gary grad, so you know that schools have closed, some are abandoned, they're old. What did you say? Did you say, what have I gotten myself into? What did you say?
Not at all. Actually, how did I get here?
Yeah.
So somebody knew Paige, who knew this person, who knew that person, and she was looking for a director. And you know Paige, he asked
will hunt
everybody.
you down.
And somebody said, hey, do you know somebody that might want to be the director? And this person said, why don't you check with Burial Quinn? He lives in Gary. She called me out of the blue. We had a conversation, and I went, you know what? Absolutely. I've lived in this community my whole life. I know what happened to the school system. I knew it was down, and I thought, no, this is my chance, right? This is my chance to finally give something back to my community, and what a meaningful job.
Yes.
And I used to say the same thing at the U of C. I says, you know, you can look at any one of those students and think about it. You may laugh, but that could be the next CEO of the next billionaire company. That could be the next state attorney general. That could be the next president of the United States.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people laugh at that, but that's the way I looked at it. Because, you know, facilities, it's always behind the scenes.
Yes.
You go to a school website, probably the last thing you'll ever find is a facilities place that says all the names and everything.
Crystal, we'll have Crystal to put you guys on the homepage.
I'm just saying, but and most schools do,
Yeah.
because the way I look at it is, if we're unseen and there's no complaints, then we're doing our job.
That's right. That's right.
And I sort of, it's no different like in the corporate world. You don't see workers in the corporate offices and during the day and all this. So you try to be as behind the scenes. And what's the goal here? It's education. So we should be the last group that disrupts that.
And here's the point with that. I totally agree with everything you're saying. When you're in a facility, in a space that looks good, that's repaired, that feels good, I think that too connects to more learning. Because you're not distracted like, oh, there's a towel about to fall on my head, or, oh, the plumbing's not working, I can't go to the water fountain. Whatever the situation is, it goes back to having a great environment for which to learn.
Yes. So back to me coming here, I knew what I was getting into.
Okay.
I had driven around and seen the schools. I talked to some people, and I'm like, and I talked to, you know, my Sarah about it, and she goes, I think that would be good for you. And it is. Again, this job to me has meanings. And somebody said, so what's your number one goal? My number one goal is to get the interior environment correct for the students to learn correctly. That means correct HVAC, correct heating, correct lighting. You know, we had buildings where it's 90 degrees on this side, 75 degrees on that side. And there's reasons for all that, and we're getting to those reasons.
Yeah.
Gary Middle School, we already have half the building is already automated again.
Nice.
And that's the goal. The goal is to keep that temperature to a moderate where a child in the winter doesn't have to wear a coat. They're not worried about being cold or hot, because like you said, that's not conducive to proper learning.
Proper learning.
And if you don't have the right environment, they can't learn.
Absolutely.
So that's my biggest goal. And I tell everybody, listen, and everybody goes, when's this going to happen? When's that going to happen? And I say, listen, that didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to be fixed overnight.
Yes.
My goal in the next 2 years, everything infrastructure-wise that's major that needs to be fixed will either be fixed, it'll be encumbered, or the project will be underway.
Nice.
And we are well on our way.
Yes.
I mean, we've got a pretty good handle now on our roofs, I believe, after this year.
That's what I was going to get to. Let's talk roofs.
Well, let's talk roofs. We're doing the final phase of West Side, over the gym and all that. Leaks are done. We're doing the final phase for Beveridge. We're going to we're doing a new roof systems on Williams, on Marquette, and on Glen Park Academy. And on those three schools, we're going to be proactive instead of reactive.
Yes.
So those buildings are 10 to 15 years old. There's a process what we can do to the roof right now, and it'll give us another 20 years easily for half the cost of tear off.
Nice.
So that's being proactive. So in 5 years, because if we didn't do anything right now, in 5 years, the roofs will probably deteriorate to the point where you'd have to replace them.
Absolutely. I just want to interject where individuals constantly say, well, just start over, get a new school. But I know there are controls in place where that's not where we are yet to say just build a new school. And so I feel like the next best thing, and we do have to preserve the schools that are open, is going in, assessing, which is what your team does, and then prioritizing what projects take precedent over others. And with the advent of more funding, we have been allowed to do a lot more projects. Talk about how you feel with more dollars to do more work.
Well, when I first thought about taking this job, one of the advantages was the fact that they did have that money. I mean, that's an advantage. And so the way I looked at it is, they have all this money, great, I can go there, I can do things that are meaningful, and they have the money. There won't be this battle, are you gonna do this, or are you gonna do that? So in a sense, it made my job easier.
Yes.
I didn't have to fight for funding, go downstate or wherever, it was already there. To me, what's more important is that the school system, when they do get a project and the work is done, they get what they're supposed to get. That, if we pay $80,000, it doesn't matter if we're here, there. We should get $80,000 of quality work, on time, on schedule, and we shouldn't be like second in row.
And I can tell you from personal experience in watching Barry when he works that you are the king of the follow-up. When you don't hear from a vendor, if they say they're going to start on a certain date and they haven't, you're always able to give an update, whether it's some materials that are behind or a change in project managers. And we appreciate you for that, which is why we have you on the show, because a lot of people watching, you'd be surprised, have no idea what's happening and all the changes taking place positively, that is, in the Gary schools. You are watching A Day in the District. A Day in the District is solely dedicated to the positive things happening in your Gary Community School Corporation. Right now, we're talking to Burial Quinn, Director of Building Grounds and Maintenance. We're talking all of the amazing projects that are taking place in all of our school buildings. And when we come back, we'll talk football fields, track fields, jumbotrons, and parking lots. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
It's gross. I don't really want to talk about it.
She didn't want to at first, but I mean, it's no big deal. Everybody does it.
I was ready, totally ready, because we had been practicing this dance for weeks.
He was supposed to take this girl to this dance, but
I sprained my ankle at track practice.
I hate sharing anything personal. It's so disgusting.
For the dance, I let her wear my shoes and she hated it, but I thought she looked great in them.
he could barely even walk.
I ended up taking some pills for my pain.
Yeah, they were my mom's, but
It didn't go well.
If it's not yours,
If it's not yours,
if it's not yours,
Hey you,
don't take it.
don't take it.
don't take it.
don't take it. You won't believe what happened next.
Hello, my name is Dr. Paige McNulty. I'm the manager for the Gary Community School Corporation, and I am pleased to be joined today with the Jackson 5 family members, Tito and Marlon Jackson.
Hi,
how are you? Thanks for being here today.
Not only are we members of the world-famous Jackson 5, but we are proud products of the Gary schools.
Growing up in Gary, our school system afforded great opportunities from academics to extracurricular activities.
And today is no different. This is why we encourage you to enroll your child in the Gary schools today.
For more information, please call 219-881-5466 or visit garyschools.org. And please remember, enroll in Gary Schools today.
Yes,
That's right.
definitely enroll.
Gary Schools.
Strong, resilient.
Built for education.
Welcome back to A Day in the District. I'm still your host, Chelsea Whittington. I am here talking with Burial Quinn from Building Grounds and Maintenance, and I've just been smiling this entire time we've been recording because I get excited because I too am a graduate of the Gary schools, and I have always said, Barry, that I want the children who come behind us to have more than what we had. And the other day, we were at a job fair because we are hiring. For those who don't know, go to GarySchools.org. I was at our hiring fair in Westside, and I'd seen pictures, but it was my first time seeing the Jumbotron up close. My goodness. Now, I know that's kind of on the IT side of the ordering, but certainly your team had to be in on the whole erection. Talk about that huge one, and the one outside on Westside's football field.
Yep, there's a Jumbotron in the main gym and a Jumbotron on the football field.
Crazy.
And, you know, in today's world of high school athletics, that's where you're at. You know, you have a Jumbotron. You have a Jumbotron on your football field. Speaking of football fields, you know, the new football field started yesterday.
Yay!
I just, driving in, I just noticed they took the goalposts out.
Yes.
And if anybody wants to know why the goalpost would never come out, you can go look at the 6 feet of concrete that's on the bottom of it.
I'm going.
But yes, that's very exciting.
It should be.
You know, I was at the invitational track meet they had, and I thought, can you believe it? They hadn't had a track meet here since 2009.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, it really is.
And at the same time, they had students who practiced in the hallway and went downstate and won.
Yes.
So, you know, that tells you something.
What are they going to do this year? We're excited
Absolutely.
for them to have the facilities. And the other piece to that is school pride. You know, students would come and tell me when they would visit other schools and say, well, why can't we have this? And it's people like you and your team, Barry, that are saying you're going to have this or you have this now. Press box?
Press box is almost done.
Okay.
But no, look at that. I mean, Robert's like, well, can you believe this? Have you been in it?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
so
you
we'll
should
have
see
to
it.
take everybody there, go live, and do some videos.
You've seen it. It's all white with the color stripes down the back side of it. It looks very nice.
And for those of you who don't know what a press box is, when you go to our football games and other events at the stadium here at Westside, you have your announcement equipment. Now you can hear the plays and foul on the play or flag on the play, touchdown Westside with clarity because we have all new equipment inside, and it's just a wonderful thing to see. Again, it ties back to school pride, performance, enrollment. And so this is my shameless plug. Excuse me, Barry. We are enrolling children right now here at your Gary Community School Corporation. If you'd like to enroll your child in any of our facilities, give us a quick call, 219-881-5466, or go to our website, GarySchools.org, and click on Enroll Now. Okay, I'm back. What else?
So think about it. By this fall, right, you'll have a new track. You'll have a brand new state-of-the-art football field. You'll have new lighting. You have a new parking lot. The roof will be completed. So this school's looking pretty good.
This beyond pretty good for
We're
me.
working on the boilers in this school. We're working on the HVAC in this school. And again, to get that environment done, had a light audit done of all the schools. We're going to go all to LED.
Really? So we're going green?
We're going green.
Okay.
It's not only green, it's all about what is the light quality for the students to learn. Currently, with the old T8s, 11s, whatever they are, the quality of light's not there. We're back to the correct environment for a student to learn. Heating, air conditioning, and lighting.
So I want to tell you a secret. As a Westside graduate, nobody will hear us. That Westside parking lot, it has had the same potholes from when I was in high school 30-something years ago. And we thought it was like something fun to do to dodge the potholes and everything. But can I tell you now what that parking lot looks like and the feedback that we have received? What kind of massive project was that?
And my Sarah tells me this all the time, that I've done this so long, I take it for granted what people know. That I think, oh, you know that, right? And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. So to me, it's all a process. To me, the hardest part's putting the RFP out, getting a contractor, getting the contract. And once a project starts, if it's a reputable company, it goes along, like Westside. I was talking to Matt today, and I said, isn't that crazy? I said, you and I have probably been on this site 10 times, just looking at an issue or whatever. Other than that, it's went right along. And this summer, we're doing the parking lot at Bailey. And we're doing the parking lot at Bethune. And we're making repairs to the Gary Career Center parking lot. And so everybody knows the reason we're not fixing the parking lot yet all the way at Gary Career Center, we have some water issues, so we may have to dig up the parking lot and stuff. So we're going to get rid of the potholes and all that. And then next year, the Gary Career Center will be on the list
I
with some
am
other schools.
So excited and delighted for all of these updates. The last thing before we get out of here, we just returned from a very symbolic ceremony of your alma mater. They completed the demolition of Lew Wallace. Had a lot of alumni come out. Very sentimental occasion. As we close out as a Lew Wallace alum, what does that mean to you?
You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's disgusting. They should have did this with the building, did that with the building." And you know, unfortunately, the building was in such disrepair that wasn't going to happen. So, as the stewards of that building, we did what we should do.
Yes.
We got rid of it was a hazard to the neighborhood. It was unsafe, and unfortunately, yes, we had to take it down. Is it sad? It's sad, but the alumni lady that spoke today, she said it perfectly. If you think back, what came out of Lew Wallace High School, the talent that came out of Lew Wallace High School, again, I came out of Lew Wallace High School, and here I am. And so people that say, oh, if you go to the Gary schools, you can't do this, you won't do that, don't believe it. You can do and be anything you want to be. And I'm so excited about the STEM classrooms they're putting in. I mean, this is exciting stuff because that's what should happen.
Yes.
Get them when they're young and say, you know, you could be an astronaut, you could be an electrician, you could be a carpenter. That's what needs to happen. That's why I'm so excited that they're bringing the trades back to the Gary Career Center.
Yes,
I mean, that's amazing to me.
Yes.
And I told somebody, I said, I remember the day you could go by the Gary Career Center and the parking lot would be full.
Well, we are returning to those days, and I just want to thank you, Barry, for taking time to come and help us to understand the project load that we have here in the district and all of the amazing improvements that are taking place. You are indeed making a difference in your community and in the lives of the young people we serve. You have been watching A Day in the District, a program designed specifically to share all of the exciting updates in your Gary Community School Corporation. Information is available on our website at garyschools.org. We encourage you to enroll your child today by calling 219-881-5466. You can volunteer and simply just stay involved and watch us work together. We'll see you next time.
WSTG TV.
Don't tell anybody, but I'm a bookworm. I'm one of those very ambitious, highly motivated, overachievers you've heard about. When I enrolled in Gary Community Schools, I thought I'd be all alone. Sort of like an anomaly or a unicorn. Turns out, that wasn't true at all. There's lots of us here.
Gary Schools. Strong, resilient, built for education.